What's going on, chimps? Welcome back to another episode of Guitar Chimp Television. Let's talk about guitars. So today I'm going to talk about the 5 guitars that I regret selling. There are a handful over the years that I've regretted selling. No hard feelings to anybody that has bought any of this stuff for me. You know, it's all, I don't know, man. I've been pretty lucky to just be a part of this industry for the past 15 years. But if I was to go back and say, yeah, if I could rebuy some of these for the same prices that I sold them, would I do that? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would. Okay, so let's get started. The first guitar that I regret selling is a 2000 Ibanez Jam 2K DNA Jam. It's the multicolored, it's the blood one. You guys know what I'm talking about. They made 300 of them in the year 2000. They're multicolored gems. They were, the multicolored work was done by Darren Johansson at About Time Designs, ATD Designs. As far as the DNA gems, he's the only one that did those. But if you buy an old Universe, for instance, most of the swirl designs were actually not done by him. I believe he did maybe the first 1,000 of them is what they did. Very, very cool guitar. I always wanted one. I had one. What made me end up selling it is, and I did disclose this in the listing, when I got it, somebody had let their cat sit in the case for I don't know how long, and so the case smelled like cat pee. I did everything to get this thing out. I probably took an ozonator to this thing maybe 20 times. In fact, if you look at the case, like if I'm showing you a picture of it, you can see that it's very, very faded. I used this ozonator so much trying to get this cat pee smell out of there that it faded the inside of the case. Something about this guitar that's pretty cool that I didn't mention earlier, Steve Vai actually put some of his blood in the paint finish. So when they were doing the swirl in the machine or whatever, he put a few pints of his blood in there. Wasn't the first to do it. I think Kiss was the first to do that with their comic book, but it's pretty rad that he did do that. If I could find another one for the right price, I don't know, man, I'd want to keep it. I'll tell you what I paid for this one. I think I paid $3,000 or $4,000 for this DNA when I bought it. I bought it maybe 7 years ago or so. They're worth a ton more today. I should have kept it. The next guitar that I regret selling is, so the technical term on this, according to Trogly in the ledgers, no, it is legitimately, so it's a 1986 Gibson Custom Shop Edition Studio XPL Les Paul. I think that's it. So basically I had called it an Aldo Nova Les Paul. It looks very similar to the Prehistoric Aldo Nova Les Paul that if you've watched Trogly's channel, you're probably familiar with both of them. Basically, it's a Prehistoric Les Paul with a Explorer headstock. Well, this one was a 3 pickup Studio Custom XPL with an Explorer style headstock on it. Very, very cool guitar. I knew what it was before I bought it because of the headstock. I originally purchased this from Craig Brody, the guitar broker. Check out his site. I've talked to him about him a few times on the channel. Very, very cool guitar. I got a killer deal on it. I think I listed the thing for like 12,000 bucks. Trogly from the Trogly's Guitar Show ended up purchasing the guitar from me, did a video on it. The video has tons of views. I believe he's kind of selling the guitar. He has it listed on his website for, I think he's got it for 50 grand, but he does give the explanation of basically saying he doesn't want to sell the guitar, but I mean, if somebody paid him 50 grand for it, sounds like he'd take it. I've seen another one on eBay that's not quite as clean. There's somebody selling theirs for about 29,000. It's a pretty cool guitar. I really like him. Gibson should do more stuff like this that's kind of off the wall. I really like the Joe Bonamassa, the Bonabird Les Paul, specifically because of that. I mean, it's Pelham blue. It has a Firebird headstock attached to a Les Paul. Let's do more weird stuff like this. I really like it. Moving on, the next guitar, so number 3 guitar that I regret selling is a 1961 Gibson SG Custom in white. The reason why I regret selling this one is not necessarily for the guitar. The guitar itself, when I bought it, needed a ton of work. I got a good deal on it, but none of the pickups were original. It's had multiple cracks on the guitar. Just really a player, but nonetheless an original 61 SG Custom. Funny story about this guitar, but I actually had some people buy this one, and then I had I believe it was a 1981 Gibson Les Paul Standard in Bahama Blue at the same time. Somebody had bought this guitar and the Bahama Blue Les Paul. Okay, so I shipped them, you know, kind of like it's no big deal. They bought the Bahama Blue one, actually, I should note this, about maybe a week afterwards. The white custom, I sell it to them, and then I'm snooping around on guitarcenter.com trying to find good deals at night. I see my SG Custom on there, and I'm thinking, gosh, that's weird. Why would somebody buy a guitar from me and then immediately just sell it to Guitar Center? So I got kind of suspicious. Lo and behold, they ended up filing a credit card dispute on me, and so I contacted Guitar Center. Sorry, I'm backtracking, but when they opened up the dispute on the 61, they hadn't received the Bahama Blue Les Paul, so I immediately reversed the shipment on that. So I got that one back. The SG Custom, though, ended up being for sale at Guitar Center. They opened up a dispute on the credit card saying that it was a stolen credit card. They didn't do the transaction. So that one I ended up having to file a police report over. I ended up getting the guitar back from Guitar Center eventually. Took a bit of work, but it kind of had sentimental value to me. You know, it was kind of the one that almost got away and then you got it back. But I ended up selling it to Billy Lane, who owns a company called Choppers Inc. It's a pretty well-known company. I hope I don't butcher this. He fixes motorcycles. I believe he buys and sells them. He builds them. It's basically anything with motorcycles Billy does. Old vintage Indian motorcycles, things like that. Again, I don't really know a ton about bikes. Most of it I've actually just kind of learned from, we've, you know, messaged back and forth a bunch about the guitar, so I've just kind of looked them up, and that's most of the motorcycle stuff that I've learned is just from that. Anyways, he actually took the guitar and put original, I believe there are 61 PAFs in the guitar. It did not have the original pickups in it when I sold it to him, so he upgraded that, which I can say is an actual upgrade because he's putting the actual pickups in there. And then the vibrola on this thing, it was a sideways one. It didn't really work the best when I had it. Normally, when somebody tells me, you know, I kind of fixed it a little bit, I would kind of be like, oh man, I don't know. But you know, Billy, being the kind of guy who works on old motorcycles, he's worked on plenty of stuff that is quite a bit more delicate than this, and that would require a great amount of care to keep it original. So I trust that he did that. The guitar, according to him, it plays fantastic now. He sends pictures on it every once in a while. He'll post pictures on his Instagram or his Facebook about it. So it's pretty cool to be able to go back and see the guitar and then have it be put to good use, because honestly, it was just sitting on my living room wall for quite a while. So I'm glad he's got it. The fourth guitar that I regret selling is it was a 1983 Gibson Les Paul 59 Prehistoric. 83 was the first year of the Prehistoric reissue. They made them from 83 to 1993. Prehistoric Les Paul, I've done some videos on some of the Prehistorics. They made them before that they made the actual historic Les Pauls. So it's very similar to that. Does not have a long neck tenon. Had a few slight differences in them. Came with the Tim Shaw pickups. This guitar, in my opinion though, was kind of the epitome to me of what a prehistoric Les Paul should be. It was an 83, it had lots of wear to it. The neck felt super awesome on it. I really like the Tim Shaw pickups on it. Interesting story about this one though. I used to drive around quite a bit and do the Craigslist thing. Talked about this in other videos. So I'm in Southern California. I have no idea who I'm buying stuff from until we actually show up and meet them. Matt and I, who you guys have seen in some of the videos, so we're driving around and we show up at this guy's condo. It's literally on the beach in Malibu, and it's just a 1-bedroom condo. It ended up being the guy that owns Divided by 13 amps. I don't know if he owns it today, but at least at the time, 10 years ago, he did. Ended up selling the amp, or the guitar, to us. Pretty wild. We just sat and talked about guitars and amps and just kind of the industry and the business for maybe about an hour or so. And then one of the cool things about the guitar is they used it at a showroom, part of their factory or whatever, so that different artists could come in and try out the amps. And so I'm sure that they had, you know, Jazz Masters and Strats and a handful of stuff, but they had this Prehistoric Les Paul. And so he was telling me that literally everyone's played this Les Paul. I mean, he's telling me Slash has played it, just literally anyone that would come down and play a divided by 13 amp down at their shop that wanted to play through a Les Paul, this was the Les Paul that they would give them. Makes a lot of sense. Very, very cool guitar. I should side note on this one, there's a lot of articles and videos that are done on the Prehistoric. I would go check out the Mike Slabowski stuff that he did on Les Paul Forum. I've mentioned him before. He did a number of super, super awesome articles. Go out and check it. He did one on Prehistoric Les Pauls also. That's where I've gotten most of my info. I mean, honestly, on Les Pauls and that sort of thing in general is just from a lot of his articles and then the message boards. Okay, so finally, number 5 guitar that I regret selling. This is probably the number 1 guitar that I regret selling out of all of them. At the time, you know, I couldn't have kept it. I didn't have the money. I didn't really know what it was. So what I ended up selling was a 1979 Gibson block inlay Flying V in white. I had no idea what it was. I knew it was a 79 Flying V in white. That's all I thought it was. I probably bought and sold this thing over 10 years ago. There just wasn't a lot of info on it. I tried to look up, I knew the block inlays were kind of weird, but I really didn't know that much about it. They made these between late 79 and early 1980. And they made about, I don't know if the exact number is known, but they made about 25 to 50 of them. This one had never been played, never. In fact, when I was opening it up to check out the pickups, I could tell that there'd never even been anything done to it. I was the first person that was cracking open the pick guard on this thing, so I kind of felt bad about checking the pickups, but sometimes you gotta know. Just truly a one-of-a-kind guitar. Block inlay Flying Vs are very, very hard to find. But to find one like this that just was so clean, I'll just never find one again. So this is where, okay, I ended up buying this thing from Guitar Center probably 10 years ago. I paid $1,800 for this guitar. $1,800. I don't really want to disclose what I sold it for because it was way too cheap. Way too cheap that I sold it for. Like I said, at the time, I thought it was pretty much I sold it as just a regular white Flying V, and it was snapped up in about probably 3 minutes. And usually when that happens, you kind of know that something went wrong. The guy that ended up snagging it, he actually has a Flying V website that he's posted the guitar on. He's used my pictures, which is cool. I don't mind that he's posted the guitar on there. I go and check it out every once in a while just to kind of reminisce of what I had for about a week or so. But at least it's in good company. He's probably got the coolest Flying V collection that I've ever seen. Don't quote me on this, but I think the only thing that he's missing is maybe a Carina Flying V. But he's got all the custom colors, all that stuff. Super cool site. I don't know the site name or even the guy's name off the top of my head, but I'll do a screenshot of it so that you guys can see and maybe go back and check it out. Very, very cool. Can't believe I sold that guitar for so cheap. Immediately after selling it, I had sold it on eBay. And immediately after selling it, I had people calling me, begging me to sell it to them. I had one guy that offered me $12,000 cash for it after I sold it, which was a lot more than I had sold it to him for. That one was really hard to do, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't have any regrets, any real regrets about selling this stuff. It's what I do for a living, is I buy and sell guitars. So, I've bought stuff from people that could probably make this list go all the way down the street. And I've sold a handful of stuff. I've kept some stuff too that, well, I don't know if my wife is watching this, but I've kept not a lot of stuff. But that's it, wrapping up the top 5 guitars that I regret selling. I just want to make it really clear that I don't have any real regrets of selling these guitars. You know, I'm really just thankful to be a part of this industry and to be along for the journey. That's really what it's all about. We're really just caretakers of these things. And so at the end of the day, these guitars are going to be here a lot longer than we are. So what is the, you know, what's the real point of getting bummed out about this stuff? I'm also thankful that a lot of these guitars have gone to people that, you know, will post about them on the internet, and I can still get to see them. And so I hold a lot of respect for that. If you guys liked this video, let me know. I'd like to do more of them. I absolutely would like to talk about guitars a lot more rather than just doing our typical demo videos. I do like doing those, and that's what keeps the lights on. Let me know. I'd like to talk about more guitars. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, let me know also. I don't know, man. We'll do this more. It was great seeing you guys. I'll see you guys later.